practice, where do you see the growth on the offensive side of the ball?
Trending upward. It's good. There's a lot of teachable moments throughout the first 11 practices. Obviously throwing a lot at them as far as install. A lot of guys getting it for the first time, and just a lot of little details and those things to clean up. And coming out of that, really we didn't scrimmage till practice 9. Coming out of that first scrimmage, just those typical things of pre-snap penalties. We had a number of turnovers, putting the ball on the ground, quarterback center exchange. Some of those basic things that we'd like to clean up before we do it again. But I like the guys have had an awesome attitude. They've been working hard at it, and like I said, we've been throwing a lot at them. I thought they've done a nice job of taking that and then taking the next step the next time they come out there.
Do you guys plan on one more scrimmage the rest of the spring, or do you want to do another?
I think we're going to try to do some scrimmage work this Saturday, and then I'm not sure what the spring game, what that format, that's always unique what that looks like.
What were some of the positives from the scrimmage?
Positives, I thought we moved the ball, and groups 1 through 3, all groups I thought moved the ball at times, and I thought for the first scrimmage, third down situations, particularly with that first group, we did a nice job of converting on some third downs and staying on the field that way. But just too many, like I said, a lot of pre-snap penalties that stalled drives out, a lot of mental bust, assignment errors, and then putting the ball on the ground a little bit and some fumbles. Really kind of maybe the second time we'd gone live through the spring was really good for our guys to see that and confirm that we really need to do a good job taking care of it.
What's it like teaching a new offense to so many people after coaching when you've had so much, so many layers had already been set?
It's fun. It's fun to see the guys' excitement at it, and we're trying to sell it as, hey, there's a lot of opportunities to make plays in this thing, create explosives and score points, have fun doing it, and it has been really cool, I think, because we brought 4 coaches that have been doing this offense for a while, and then so many guys that are just learning it for the first time. Is you got to remember, hey, this is the first time he's ever running this play, and sometimes our expectation might be a little bit too high for the first time he's doing it. But the guys have good attitudes, and like I said, they've been a lot of teachable moments, and you can see the improvement from practice 1 to where we're at right now for sure.
What have you learned about each of your quarterbacks besides Aiden? You've obviously worked with him, so you know him, but the 3 new guys that you're working with, what have you learned from them?
Start with Tommy Schuster. Just the experience. I think, gosh, he's just a savvy player and has a good feel for the game, and made some plays in the 2-minute situations right here. Had a really good practice on Tuesday. I think he only had 1 incompletion. Just you can tell that he's done it before and has been out there, and he's done a nice job of extending plays. Something's not there, I can move subtly in the pocket and make a play, or extend it in the scramble drill and throwing a nice catchable ball. And then the 2 freshmen for true freshmen coming in, Alessio and Rylan. For true freshmen, it's a big step up as far as the speed of the game goes, and I like those guys' skill sets. Rylan shows some athleticism, did some nice things in the scrimmage, and really like Alessio's strong arm, can push it down the field, and both those guys have flashed and have done a nice job of learning it for true freshmen, I think, showing. And then Drew's been in the program for a while, and we enjoy having him in the room.
How's Aiden look different?
I just think moving into that where he's taking a bulk of the 1 reps, I just think the maturity, we're really challenging him on just consistency. As I think as a young guy a year ago, you saw flashes where it's 1 or 2 big time plays, and then there'd be 2 or 3 mental mistakes or missing a throw here, not making the correct read. So I've been really challenging him on consistency, and we've seen it at times, but I still think that's something we're getting him just tightening up the details as he moves into the fall, of just that being consistent and stacking those quality, well executed plays one after another, being more consistent that way.
Where would you say you are in the process of identifying all right, here's some of my weapons I can count on, and we can build sort of stuff around these guys primarily?
Yeah.
Is that something that bleeds over into camp probably, or how much of that can you get done now? How much have you gotten done? Just where's that sort of process?
No, it's still early in the process. Obviously, we got some initial thoughts, and we've been shuffling guys around. Guys, particularly at receiver, have been playing inside. They've been playing outside, kind of trying to get a feel for what they can do there. Rotating through groups. So guys got going with the first group one day, and then he's in the second or third group the next day, just trying to cycle through and really more focused on teaching the offense and getting guys to understand it that way. But yeah, we're getting a feel, for some of the playmakers, and in my mind of like, hey, what we can do. And then as we get into fall camp, the install kind of be tweaked to fit those guys a little bit, particularly as we get towards the end of training camp. But I've got an idea in my mind, I guess, of some of the guys that I've flashed, and we'd like to find ways for them to get the ball.
You don't have many returning receptions on the roster, let alone number of receivers. They're proven. He just kind of asked about that a little bit in general, but what are you learning about some of those receivers as you're moving forward this year?
The guys have some. I mean, they're a little bit got a little more length than maybe we had at Oregon State when we came from, and then it's been kind of cool through the first 11. It's like a different guys kind of flashed on different days. So I think we've got 4, 5, 6 guys that I feel like have the ability to step into that role. And right now it's like kind of like we're talking with Aiden, we're challenging him on consistency. It's like, hey, you show up and you look really great on these couple reps, and then these other 2 we have a mental bust, or we're not lined up right, or we're not executing it properly. And then I think for these guys, what we'd really like to see is on those kind of 50-50 balls, and with our tight ends too, is you get some opportunities in those one-on-one situations to go win on those things and go come down with the football. And we've seen a little bit of that. I'd like to see more of that as we finish spring.
For a young guy like Marsh, what does he need to do to see the field? I mean, obviously getting here early probably helps a little bit with that, I would think.
No, I just think getting comfort level of the offense, and then us trusting him that he can go in there, he knows his responsibility, and he can play fast doing it. And I think sometimes that's always a challenge with freshmen. Does he know it well enough to where he can just go out and play fast and play free, because he's physically talented enough. Just sometimes if those guys are thinking too much, then they don't play fast, they play slow, and we can't have him that way. But man, he's done a really good job. We're really impressed with his physicality, ball skills, and made a really nice play in the 2-minute drill today for us. So I'm really excited about his future for sure.
With guys like Ryland and Milivojevic and even Schuster, how much have they done center exchanges under center in their careers? Is that? Yeah,
Tommy did a little bit at North Dakota. He had some familiarity, and most of these high school guys, not very much, and so I think it's getting them under the center a little bit it's good for them, man. They're doing that at the next level, and I think the guys are excited about the opportunity to kind of get comfort. But man, those the first couple practices, it's interesting. I always keep that film, show it to them a couple years later to show them how uncomfortable they were doing it. But they'll be thankful as they get later in their career.
Aiden said he doesn't really feel the pressure of the expectations. Do you notice that about him when you talk with him or when you watch him in practice?
Yeah, I think Aiden's got it. He's had a good approach to it all, and I think he kind of understands the perception of that, I guess. And we try to always talk about keeping his focus on process oriented, and like, hey, how can I improve myself today? What can I do to execute this rep right, staying in the moment that way, and doing that time and time again, and good things will happen, and not getting yourself too high or too low or looking too far ahead, I guess. Just focusing on improving right now and doing what he can to make himself a better player.
You got 3 veterans in the backfield. I guess what have you seen from those guys? Anybody standing out from the rest? I know Nate was, workhorse last year.
Yeah. No, I think each of those guys have had their days, and we put the ball on the ground one too many times a little bit in that first scrimmage, which tends to happen the first couple times you go live. So I think that's something those guys are working on. But again, just kind of like the receiver room, they've had guys that have flashed. I mean, I think and we're still trying to get them kind of matched up with the offensive line. There's a little bit of that trust process of like, hey, it's a little bit different scheme, trusting that the hole's going to be there, that the read, and we're still kind of working through that. But I just like to see him get a little bit more consistent with it.
So how is it coming together up front? That's what I want to ask you.
It's a work in progress. Like I said, there's been some days where you'll turn on a rep and it's like, man, this is it. Like, we got it. These guys are starting to get it and we're going. And then, sometimes it's 1 step forward, 2 steps back with it. And that happens just learning this, some of this wide zone stuff that we're teaching them. It's just maybe a little bit different than things they've done in the past, and just getting those guys when they go out in live situations to trust their technique. And that's something that we're working through, but we're seeing the growth. It's just, that process of the, little ups and downs. And but the guys have had a great attitude. They're putting in time away from it, and we've seen it improve as we've gone through the first 11.
I would imagine there's a lot of shuffling going on there as well.
Yeah, particularly, yeah. The first couple, the first group, there's been maybe 7, 8 guys cycling through there, and then the second, third group, it's just been, good guys trying different positions. We're working with different guys at center. So it's just everybody getting used to it, and
We talked
a
with
lot of learning.
Talk with some of the defensive guys about the need to kind of erase the past teachings. How is that on the offensive side? Like in getting, not relying on the things that you learned before and building on what you're trying to teach.
Yeah, and I think there's some things that you kind of want them. I think at least situationally, sometimes that they've, you'd love to see them be able to stick with. But yeah, there's some new scheme, a little bit new technique, or a detail here and there that's different for some of the veteran guys that have been doing it. And it can be challenging because they've got reps doing something a certain way, and I think it's that we're in that process now of getting them to trust this thing, trust this technique, trust this concept, buy into it, commit to it. It ain't going to look perfect the first couple times you do it, but keep working at it, particularly in the individual sets. And I think those guys have been able to see the progress a little bit to where they're buying into it, and we're still a work in progress.
Is that muscle memory, does that happen, because you guys have been through this before with the staff change, does that happen more between spring ball and fall camp, when they get back to it?
I think it's just something they're working through, and then between spring ball and fall camp, they got to spend a lot of time, particularly on their individual technique, and you'd love to have those guys. You get a lot of teach clips, a lot of whether it's an individual drill or a team setting, you get a lot of really good teach clips to where those guys are able to understand, hey, this is what I got to do, and then they can go work on it throughout the summer on their own.
You mentioned that you have more length at receiver here than you had at Oregon State. Are you looking for a certain body type at receiver? What do you like? What do you look for receiver?
Yeah, I always think just our best available guy. We've had we've had some guys that have been bigger, more possession guys that can go make plays in the ball, and then we've had some guys that were smaller speed guys. And so I think for us, it's we like a good mix, I guess, of speed and size that way. And you'd love to get the guy that's got some size and can go as well. But Coach Hawk and I have talked a little bit about that. I just like a variety.
You feel like you need a guy that can take the top off?
Absolutely, yeah. I definitely would want some speed, someone that could take the top off on the outside, and then you also want some guy, kind of like a Nick Marsh, that's got some size, some length to him, that where you need a guy to go in on a slant or a stop route on, a third down situation and go make a play. 50-50 ball, he can go win a one-on-one matchup for you. So I just think a variety of different skill sets, and I think we've got that here right now, and we'll be in the recruiting process still looking to build on that and add more talent in the room.
After you watched last year's Michigan State film and probably some practice film and got ready to coach this spring, as spring has progressed, has there been a player or two that you watched film of in the fall that you look at now and say, man, that guy's made a lot of progress? Anyone you want to mention, 2 or 3 guys that have gained some traction that way?
Yeah, and gosh, I'm saying even off the film, I just, Michael Masunas, the tight end, is really flashed, done some really nice things. Ron Glover, I think, to me, is somebody that we were really excited about, and we're really just challenging him on consistency. It's like he's really flashed and done some good things, but trying to get him to be an everyday, like he's doing that every day and stepping into that role. Montori Foster is another guy that had a lot of experience that we've moved around, put him in some different spots to see what he can do, and I've really been pleased with what he's done that way. There's probably a list goes on of guys that way to where you saw flashes of it on film, and we just got to get him to be more consistent with what we're doing.
Did you guys recruit Masunas out west? Do you remember him coming out of high school?
I think I had to talk to Waz too much. I think we were in the initial phase at recruiting him. I don't remember. That was a little bit ago.
Thanks, Coach.
Far guy.
Thanks, Ben.
Yeah.